Okay, hello everyone. Almost ready to start. Just wait for the top of the hour. Okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhasa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhasa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhasa. Okay, hello everyone. This is the next lecture on the Bojjhangas, the enlightenment factors. And we're starting this this session and the next two dealing with the calming factors. The Bojjhanga are seven. The sati in the middle, which is required at all times and balances the two wings. Um, three of the factors energize the mind, and three of the factors calm the mind, and they need to be kept in balance, just as a bird needs two wings to fly. If one side is developed at the expense of the other, then the practice will be unbalanced, and the meditator will either sink into dullness and sleepiness if the energy factors are low, or will succumb to restlessness and agitation if the calming factors are weak. So a big part of the skill of practice is determining which side needs to be brought up and putting your attention to that aspect of practice to either calm or energize the mind as required. So the first of the calming factors is passadi, or tranquility. This is the quiescence or stillness, quietness of mind. Calm. No? It's a mental state of great value, and its value is not appreciated in the world. It seems that what the culture pushes people to seek is excitement, thrills, which is contrary to calm and tranquility. And people, I think, many people wrongly assume that tranquility is somehow dull or boring, whereas it's profoundly pleasant to be tranquil. For someone who's not experienced tranquility in their life to any degree, when they find it, it's like an amazing gift to be free of agitation, free of anxiety, to just be at peace. The peaceful mind is buoyant. It tends to be joyful. It's unstressed. It's definitely something that we should all seek to find more of in our lives. To find this calmness. One contributing factor to that is the quality of santuti, or contentedness. Contented, sometimes called contentment with little. There is a Mahayana text that calls contentment with little as the wish-fulfilling gem. In Indian mythology, a lot of the fairy tales center around the hero seeking the wish-fulfilling gem. You find this magical jewel that if you find it, it'll grant all your wishes. But according to this text, santuti is the wish-fulfilling gem, because if you have contentment, then all your wishes are already fulfilled, because you're not wishing for anything beyond what you already have. So you have this contentment, so you're at peace. So desire is not nagging the mind. You're happy just as you are. This is tranquility. This is contentment, which is a contributing factor or an aspect of passadi, tranquility. It's the opposite to agitation. Udacha, restlessness or agitation, is when the mind is not tranquil, it's not at peace, it's fidgety. You have this constant urge to do something, to go somewhere, to move, to try something different. This restlessness that plagues the mind is the opposite of passadi, tranquility. It's the defilement that passadi overcomes. A good rule of practice, if you find yourself experiencing restlessness in meditation, is to sit still, to overcome restlessness by stillness. It's a easy mistake to make. People make often is they try to get rid of restlessness by appeasing it. The desire mind will throw up all kinds of reasons and excuses why you should be doing something else. Meditation is not going well, so you tell yourself, well, if I go out and go for a walk, or if I clean the room, or if I read for a few minutes, or answer some emails, or whatever, get that out of the way, get something out of the way, do it now, then I'll be able to settle down and do my meditation. And that doesn't work in the long term. Restlessness will just keep coming back again and again. The only way to get through restlessness is to force yourself to be still, physically and mentally. And it can be difficult at first when restlessness is agitating the mind and making the body twitchy, but eventually you will conquer restlessness that way and come out the other side and experience passadi, the tranquility. There's tranquility of the body and tranquility of the mind. The body's tranquil. You don't feel any urge to move. You're just at peace. There's no stress. There's no tension in the body. And tranquility of the mind is similar on the mental plane. You feel at ease. There's no anxiety. There's no spinning of random thoughts. The mind is just calm and at ease. Some of the places where passadi turns up in the canon One is in the Upanisa Sutta, which is the transcendental dependent arising, the listing of the factors that lead a being out of suffering to liberation. And in that sequence, piti causes passadi, and passadi causes sukha. Because of piti, passadi arises. Because of passadi, sukha arises. So this is itself worth contemplating. Here, passadi serves as a link between, it's the intermediate or transitional state between piti and sukha. Piti is that we spoke about in one of the previous talks about energizing factors. It's also a jhana factor. Piti is usually translated as rapture. It's the energetic happiness that has it's technically a mental factor, but it has a strong physical correlation that you experience thrilling sensations in the body when you have piti. And it has a beneficial and a healing aspect to it, in the sense it subjectively seems to wash away tensions and defilements and so on. So this would tend towards tranquility, because the waves of piti are basically tranquilizing the body, although piti itself is not fully tranquil. There's a kind of thrilling or exciting aspect to it. It does tend towards clearing out the tensions and stresses and anxieties, and bringing the mind towards a more collected and tranquil state. And when this tranquility is well established in the mind, then that happiness that was present in piti is transformed into the more profound happiness of sukha, or bliss, that is peaceful. There's no exciting aspect to it. It is itself tranquil, we could say, that it's the oceanic happiness that has a stillness to it. So passadi is the quality that is brought on by piti, even though piti by itself is not fully tranquil. It does tend towards tranquility, and when tranquility is established, it transforms into the next type of happiness, the deeper happiness of sukha. There's also another sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya that relates the different kinds of passadi to the successive jhanas, and it talks about tranquilization of different factors as one advances through the jhanas. So the first jhana, it said in this sutta that speech, vacha, is tranquilized, meaning one doesn't talk or speak while in jhana. That's been tranquilized. Then in second jhana, vitakka vichara, or apply and sustain thought, are tranquilized. So the thinking process is tranquilized. It's made quiescent. And then in third jhana, rapture is tranquilized. And in fourth jhana, the in and out breathing is tranquilized. In the Nirodha Sampati, the cessation of perception and feeling, Vedana and Sanya are tranquilized. And for the Arahant, the root defilements are tranquilized. So, except for that last one, passadi, as a verb, the tranquilization of, doesn't mean eradication. When you are in jhana and the second jhana and uh, thought process is tranquilized, it's not eradicated because when one emerges from jhana, that faculty returns. But here, it means something like made quiescent or made dormant. For the arahant, it's the tranquilization of the root defilements, that is greed, hatred, and delusion, lopa, moha, dosa. When these are tranquilized, it really means eradication. They're uprooted and ended for the arahant. They do not return. So here, generally, the word passadi means made quiescent, made quiet. And a tranquil mind is a quiet mind. There's there's not there's not a lot of activity. The mind is at peace. And I think most people in the world, they have a hard time finding that state of peacefulness. And when they are able to find it, it's a wonderful thing. And they hold on to it. They cherish it. They realize what they've been missing. There is a kind of danger here in that one can gain a kind of false passadi through the use of tranquilizing drugs. I think people use these kind of drugs primarily for is to overcome the restlessness and agitation, the pain of a stressful mind. But this kind of false passadi, this is dangerous. It's not a true passadi. It's a dulling of the mind rather than a tranquilizing. When passadi is gained through practice, it doesn't dull the mind. The mind is still wide awake and clear and bright. If there is a tendency towards dullness, that's because the energizing factors on the other side have not been developed. So you're losing that true buoyant passadi that is associated with clarity and wakefulness, is bright. So I'll stop there and go for questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Yes, everyone is fully tranquil because we're not getting the usual stream of questions in the chat. Okay, this a question. Looks like somebody's formulating a question. Okay, I'm not seeing that somebody just put in 2 words. It looks like they're starting a question and stopped. Okay, no question. Sorry. Okay, so that's okay. Short and sweet this week. Uh, okay, here's a question. Does passadi also correlate to some bodily sensations like PT? No, not except except ease and lack of tension in the body. There's, if you feel um, the opposite of of tranquilization of the body, the opposite of that would be stress in the body, like you have knots in the shoulders, or stress in the back, or the knees, or whatever. But with passadi, that's all eased. That there's a sense of just well-being and presence in the body. Okay. How can we make sure that any wisdom achieved in this life is carried over to next life? Um, you can't really, guarantee that. That if you develop wisdom is one of the paramis, and if you develop paramis, that will tend to carry over. But it wouldn't be. It's not like you start out in your new life with the specific wisdom you've attained, but you will have a tendency to develop wisdom, if you've nurtured it in this life. Uh, and the more the stronger you internalize and uh, make part of your ordinary thinking, the more you make yonaso manasikara, right reflection, on things like emptiness. The more you base your thinking and the habit forms of mind on that, that will set up a strong karmic pattern that will then tend to be expressed in future. Can monks use psychiatric meds such as lithium or Prozac? I I don't think there's any really hard and fast rule against that, but I would think it's uh, kind of counter indicated, unless, I mean, there are cases of people who develop serious brain chemistry problems and they need medications to balance that. But I think would be a strong tendency amongst bhikkhus to try and deal with their mental problems through practice, rather than chemically adjusting the brain. Please advise us on how to deal when we are within earshot of others, hearing others converse about us. Uh, please advise us on how to deal when we are within earshot of hearing others converse about us. Well, the main thing is not to let that affect your state of mind. Just to, disregard it. Uh, not to be swayed by the worldly dhammas of praise and blame. Um, as a practical matter, one could do one of two things, depending on the circumstances. Either approach the people, let them know your presence, so that you're talking about me. Here I am, or go away. To stand and listen over eavesdropping doesn't seem like a very skillful thing to do. To kind of sneakily listen. What does tranquilizing bodily formation mean in anapanasati? There's a couple of different interpretations of that. Um, I lean towards the idea that it means tranquilizing the breathing process. That uh, the breath will naturally, if you develop anapanasati, you shouldn't be manipulating the breath. You shouldn't be controlling the breath. You should let the body breathe, but the tendency will be for the breath to become naturally more subtle and refined. And this is tranquilizing the bodily formation. So what often happens in for some meditators is it comes a point when they have trouble seeing the breath or feeling the breath, and what that seems to be is that the bodily formation has become so tranquil that the mind has not caught up to that. The mind is still on a coarser level and doesn't perceive the more subtle formation. So the thing to do if that occurs is just to rest the attention at the point of contact at the nose tip and wait until you notice the breath again. It will come back. And another interpretation that's found in the commentaries is that body here does not mean the physical body, but means the mental body. So sometimes in the commentaries, they distinguish between mind as meaning just consciousness or chitta, and all the other mental factors called the mental body. But I lean towards the first interpretation myself. Follow-up question: if tranquilizing emotions in anapanasati means upekkha and tranquilizing the mind to stop thinking, yeah, I would say basically that's that that's a reasonable way of reading it. Like tranquilizing the sankharas or the thinking process is the thoughts are made quiescent. You're not. If the mind is tranquil, it's not agitated. It's not seeking to solve problems or figure things out or spin old memories and things. It's just tend to be where it is. So there's little or no thinking going on. And tranquil emotion would be primarily upekkha, neither pleasure nor pain, but just peacefulness. So in both cases, we could say that some mental process has been made quiescent. It's been settled down. Let's see. Which are Chinese translations of Sanskrit texts that came out of India uh, before Ashoka's time. And if the texts agree with each other, which they do largely for for most of the Sutta Pitaka, if they agree with each other, then we can be reasonably certain that they date to no later than the Second Council, which was 100 years after the Buddhist time, which was when the schools began to split and diverge. Can use of a mantra lead one into samadhi and enter jhana? Any particular mantras you recommend? Yeah, a mantra can be used as an object of meditation for developing samadhi. Um, it's not a practice that's so well uh, developed in Theravada as it is in Tibetan, for example, where they have dozens of mantras for specific purposes. But it is done. Uh, in Thailand, they often use the simple mantra Budo with the breath. It's a very common meditation technique in Thailand um, for the forest ajahns, and it's very effective. That is, you use the syllable bu on the in breath and do on the out breath. So you link it to the breathing. Okay, so let's see. Is passadi considered neutral or pleasant feeling? Passadi is not a feeling. It's a sankhara, but it would be principally associated with upeka, with a neutral feeling. So okay, I think that we can maybe make an end. I think that's good. We covered passadi. So next time I'm going to do samadhi, and then we have after that upeka, and then we've done this series. Okay, may you all have a tranquil day and be peaceful, and catch you next week.